The Pace Studio on the road. We are live with One the Duo here at Three Sirens in East Nashville. One the Duo, Prana Takitha, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having us. We're so happy to be here.
Yeah, the sound check has been great. I cannot wait to share what you do with our audience right now. We're going to hear Guilty, the debut single. It's out in the world right now. We're going to hear one that's coming out very soon in October. We're also going to hear one that's coming out further down the horizon. What's happening first today?
First, we are going to play our debut single. It dropped on September 1st. You can actually catch it on An American Saga, which is a Hulu series, a Wu-Tang Hulu series, right now, and it's called Guilty. Let's do it.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
Feels like only yesterday. Clouds were every shade of gray. I still feel the midnight chill. For the dawn, blood was spilled. He pushed too hard and I pushed back. Got out of control way too fast. Smell of gun smoke filled the air. Have to say that fight was fair. Guilty, I ain't guilty. Guilty, I ain't guilty. Still fell into my hand. Didn't wanna shoot that man. In his eyes I could see it was either him or me. Guilty, I ain't guilty. Guilty, I ain't guilty. Ooh. Ooh. What's a girl supposed to do? What's a girl supposed to do? When a man comes after you. When a man comes after you. Push comes to shove, I won't back down. I was raised to stand my ground. Oh, guilty, I ain't guilty. Guilty, I ain't guilty. Woo! Guilty, I ain't guilty. Guilty, I ain't guilty. Awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Man, dude, this is so much fun. You clearly are five people, but two people in particular who have a lot of fun with each other. That is evident. It comes across really clearly in the chemistry and the way that the music comes out. I want to talk about that a little bit. There's not everybody is so lucky so as to be able to work with their parent or with their child, and to be able to share something like this is really unique. What does the dynamic look like between the two of you?
Oh, man. Well, I have been calling my mom my best friend since I was 10 years old. She was very reluctant to take on that title. She was like, you have friends your age, for starters. But I think, especially into my teen years, I really saw I have a great mom, but also she's just like a really cool person. And that made me want to spend as much time with her and then also just create with her and work with her. And mom's always been she recognizes, obviously it's a parent-child dynamic, but I never have felt less than to my mom, which I think sometimes children can kind of feel that way with adults, where it's always like, I don't have to explain it to you because you're a child. My mom's never been that way. She's always like, even if it, takes a lot of words, she's always taken the time to like make me feel respected and heard by her. And so it comes across in our music, and when we create together, it's very collaborative and just easy. And people always ask us, what's it like to write with your mom? Because, you have to be so vulnerable. And I really feel comfortable telling her anything, because she just makes it such a safe space to be me. And so I'd say, from my perspective, that's our dynamic.
Good. I love that. I mean, that is really important, to give kids the respect that they're, I mean, even a 4-year-old can pick up on condescension and pick up on baby talk and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
I mean, I remember having those feelings as a really young kid. It's like,
Yeah.
dude, I know what you're saying. I understand something about what's happening. My vocabulary is not great, but I sort of sense what's happening.
feel
You
the
don't
vibe.
talk to me like a child. I mean, I'm a child, but
Right.
Sure.
I'm a human too.
Yes.
That's right. Yeah. I think, Prana made it easy in that regard. She's always been wise beyond her years. And I think the energy that people are picking up through the music is a bit a part of her wisdom, and speaking to her and speaking to what she was saying about our songwriting and how we collaborate. It's if she's just being vulnerable and that's how it's coming out, then that's amazing too. But to me, it's like she has such a wealth of understanding and of wisdom, and so the things that are happening in the song are really coming from an altruistic place, and coming from a place that I can actually relate to as well. And at 21 years old now, she's a young lady. She's not a child anymore. So she's kind of allowed, even from my perspective, she's allowed me an opportunity to be vulnerable and to enjoy this journey of this next stage of my life in music and in this creative process, which is very different from being a solo artist. Having her as a sounding board, or even kind of as that battery in my back going, no, you're good, you got this, like, what do you mean, mom, that's fresh, is really cool too. So it's there's a lot of reciprocity in the respect that we have for one another. But for me, I just feel extremely fortunate that she had this amazing idea to do this project, and so I'm kind of humbled by her.
Also, we have a lot of fun together. Like, we're pretty efficient when it comes to our studio sessions or like anything to that nature. But I feel like we would be even more efficient if we like did not talk at all, because
Listen.
we can get caught up on a tangent, laughing, and just
cracking
like,
all the jokes.
And we obviously, because we spend so much time together, like, we have so many inside jokes and we get each other's humor so well that it just takes one thing for it to snowball into, oopsie, sorry, we just went off like on a 15-minute joke doing stand-up bits and whatnot.
It's true.
Well, as it should, though.
It's
And
true.
even if that 15 minutes of a stand-up bit happens during studio time and you're paying for those 15 minutes, then the vibe is that much better, and that's what comes across then on the record or in the writing process or whatever phase of the process you're in.
Yeah,
This is true.
Absolutely.
Well, it's interesting, just to kind of counteract the fact that we're not wasting time in the studio. We're cutting songs in an hour, like, these days. Like, we're literally going in and, nailing songs down. In the beginning, it was like maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, and now even with a 15-minute laugh break, we're like, because she started timing them. She'll be like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, that was 48 minutes, Mom. I'm like, holy snap, it's kind of crazy. so we're efficiency is definitely part of our repertoire these days.
Has it always been the case? So you're 21 now, and you've been doing this forever, since probably as long as you can remember. So at 3, starting to, I mean, you're part of, and literally in, one of the biggest hip hop groups to ever exist, one of the undoubted Hall of Fame groups. What did that look like even back then? Was it a similar dynamic then as you were growing up in the Wu-Tang family and all of the associated artists that I would imagine hung out in that circle?
Yeah, really good question. I would say seeing how some of those studio sessions can go, which was long, which was like just abnormally long. Like, even to me, I was kind of like, why have we been at the studio for like 3 hours? And I feel like the first hour and a half was spent just like, I don't want to say pre-gaming, but
a similar vibe to what you guys do for 15 minutes. It's just that you're doing it maybe in a a different kind of a way, but
a
it's the
different
same
kind
vibe.
of a way. And so, but I'd say like growing up in that environment made me really love the studio. And so when we're there, I do feel super comfortable, but I know like there's other people's time that we're factoring in and all that. But yeah, growing up, it was just kind of natural that like I would be at the studio forever. Or mom, like especially, she really can like, because it doesn't take her long to do a song, she'll do a whole bunch of songs in a day, and just like.
Yeah, you said 3 hours when it would generally be like a block. It would be a 12-hour block that she's recalling as 3 hours. I think that's adorable.
And so for me, studio was like, you're going to the studio today, you're going to be there all day.
Pack a
and
lunch.
Bring food. Bring more food than you need. Bring a blanket. Bring a pillow. Like, there are even pictures of, like, when I was little of, like, mom having, like, kind of, like, the kiddie setup for me in the studio rooms. And so I've always grown up in that environment. But I definitely, I'm not from the I want to be at the studio all day school of thought, but I do like studio sessions that start around 5 or after 5, because here in Nashville, that's not the get down. They're like, we're doing it 10 a.m. And I'm like, I'm not myself at 10 a.m. I'm not a nice person. I'm functioning at a low level. So,
Well, thank you. We've hit you at your sweet spot right now. Thank you for closing out our day one in style. We really appreciate you doing the 7 p.m. session. We're all feeling wonderful right now because of your music. Thank you so much for doing this. And there's still a lot more to share with our audience. What's happening second today?
Second, why don't we do 1 Minute to Midnight?
Yes.
1 Minute to Midnight is a record that is produced by Brent Mayer and co-written with Brent Mayer and Joe Robinson, and right here in Nashville. And this is 1 Minute to Midnight.
1, 2, 3.
To midnight, it's 1 minute too long to be back in my baby's arms, right where I belong. 1 minute.
I'm having a great time. Thank you so much for sharing this music. And we, so you mentioned Brent. We did a lot of talking about studio time. What does it look like when you're in the studio working with Brent? And I mean, are you geeking out and full? Are you pushing faders and turning knobs and involved on that end of it, or are you saying words to Brent and then having an engineer or a producer translate those words into feelings, or how hands-on, or what does that process look like when you guys get into the studio together?
Well, it varies because we do a lot of co-writing together, as well as once it's time to track the song, even when the musicians are coming in, when they're adding things later, we're completely there at every session. So in a recording session, it will generally be Pran and I just laying the first kind of reference down, and her and I pretty much know exactly how we want to rotate the harmonies. The thing that's been really wonderful about Brent is he caught on to our style. We always alternate a verse. We always sing our harmonies. Like, I'll do the harmony against her melody for her verse and vice versa. And he caught on to that, like, flipping, and pushed the envelope for us to kind of stretch even our imagination of how and when and where to add that. Plus, he obviously comes from such a wealth of soul music and, country, obviously, and Americana and folk and rock. And he's able to see our sensibility in how we're creating music, and that there are no rules for us. So generally in the recording process, that kind of ends up filtering through. He gives us a lot of room because we're pretty sure about what we want and what we're going for. And when we get stuck, he'll like, what about this? You want to try this, check this out, And the instrumentation side, because we're working with the best musicians here in Nashville, like the top of the line, they need no direction, And so that's been really a beautiful, I think, experience for Prana and I, because we do come from such a wealth of producers and engineers and musicians that we know when it's in the pocket, and so we're very fortunate that we've had that experience. If anything, we're not twisting knobs, to answer the question. No, we're not doing that, and we're not pushing any faders. That's definitely not happening.
But I will say that Mom does a great job at communicating the feeling or vibe that she's looking to hear, and that although we might not always know the technical words, I think because we have such a good, such great chemistry with Brent and the engineer Charles, that it's easy for them to execute what we're describing to them. So we haven't gotten to the technical part. We're still in the staring, how do you know that does that?
Right.
Yeah,
you heard what I said, and you
is
made it happen.
so important. I mean, you're clearly communicating what's happening to this room right now through body language, through your voice, through everything, and that communication is crystal clear. And I have no doubt that communication is crystal clear in the studio environment as well, and that point comes across.
Yeah,
love it.
Do you literally build vocals first? You start with the vocal track and then build around that?
Well, with maybe an acoustic guitar usually is what we're writing to, and we'll track to the guitar and then build the music around that. That's how every song we've done with Brent has happened so far. It's a guitar demo first.
Guitar. We do the guitar and our part at the same time. We're usually there on the same day doing it.
Yeah.
And my former school of thought prior to now is I do write nearly every song a cappella, and I'll hear the music in my head, and then I will go to my band in New York or an MD or my guitarist, and I will tell them, all right, these are the chords I'm looking for. I'll sing the riff, I'll tap out the drum pattern, and then send it, and then they bring it back with their wealth of knowledge, obviously, and expertise, and then they're like, okay, is this what you're going for? I think I did that on one of the songs as well that we had with Brent, where I was like, okay, I hear that, but maybe we're looking for more of this, you know what I'm saying? And then have to very elementary, slap on my knees and stomp my foot on the ground, kind
but
of
it's in your head. You know what the thing is that needs to come across.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so you said something to Keitha in offline when we were chatting that was interesting to me about, I mean, obviously the story of Wu-Tang is intertwined with your story, and this is not a Wu-Tang interview at all. This is a One the Duo interview, but
Sure.
you're talking about not the differences between their music and what you do, but more what with the similarities in terms of storytelling and how lyric forward it is and how important the story is. Can you talk about how you feel those two styles of music are similar more so than they are apart?
Yeah, I think that's the thing that really excites me about this project, and being able to and having the opportunity to share the music with the public, especially the fan base that are my original fans from Wu-Tang and hip hop and soul music, right? And, you know, the black music, right? I think that there's this misconception that country music or Americana music is so far removed from what hip hop is and the foundation of hip hop, and it was all about the lyricism. You know what I'm saying? That's where it started. And so with country and with Americana music, it's about the lyric, it's about the song. You know, or at least from my understanding. You know, and the thing that's the most important about country and Americana and folk music, you know, and blues music was it's about the song. And I think that is the foundation and the correlation between hip hop and country. And let me also be very clear, Prana and I did not set out to make country music. That was not, it was, we didn't even know that what we were making was considered country music. We had a vision of making music that was stripped down and that was not produced, because I had already done, you know, if I wanted a produced record, to be honest, I go to the best on the production side of where hip hop and soul is concerned. You know what I mean? And for us, we wanted something that was stripped and a little more organic, I guess would be the right word. And so this music came naturally to us, and we didn't know it was country or Americana until we started having meetings and meeting executives, and they were like, well, what are you calling this? And we're like, I don't know, folk, I guess. I mean, I don't know what it's called. And they're like, no, this is Americana. And then you have another group of folks that are like, no, it's country. And so there's this kind of like a toss up, and we're fine to call it whatever, whoever wants to call it whatever. I think the more important message is that it's art. You know what I mean? That this is just her and I doing what we do authentically, and it's from our heart. It is not manufactured. This is just what we do, you know. So and the similarity and the wordplay and the story is important, and that's what we're hoping that all the audiences, you know, from all the genres, people who like all types of music, will just appreciate that and not try to pigeon or box us into any labels. That would be nice.
Well, we're so happy to have you here today, and this seems like a really good and conducive environment to what you do. I mean, the one room thing, this is as organic as it gets. I mean, there's,
So true.
you know, we're live streaming right now. There's one take, there's no overdubs, there's no nothing. So this is
Yeah.
stripped back. You guys sound tremendous in this room. I really can't wait to hear Juan's mix. What the internet's hearing right now, I have no doubt, is absolutely beautiful. So let's hear more. There's one more that you're about to do today in this session. What's happening last today?
Last is River of Sins, which we also wrote with Brent Mayer and Joe Robinson, and it's a fun one. So this is River of Sins.
1, 2, 3.
Which way to the river, river of sins? I've got some burdens I've been carrying deep down within. Wanna wade in to the waters, let the healing begin. I wanna open up my heart, let the sunshine pour on in. Which way to the river of sins? I feel the pain just slipping away, open my eyes to the light of day. If I should stumble off that path, all I gotta do is ask, which way to the river, the river of sins? I've got some birds just slipping away. Open my eyes to the light of day. If I should stumble off that path, all I gotta do is ask, which way to the river, river of sins. I've got some burdens I've been carrying deep down within. One waded to the waters, let the healing begin. I wanna open up my heart now, let the sunshine pour on in. Which way to the river of sin? Which way to the river of sin?
Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.
Rana, Takitha, Brad, Adrian, Drew, this has been a total delight. Thank you for coming by today, and have a wonderful Americana Fest week. Have a wonderful many shows coming up. I cannot wait for more music to be released. I know there's one out in October, one out in January, and then the sky's the limit. We'll see what happens.
Yes.
And please travel safely between all the tour dates, and I can't wait to do this again. We'll cross paths again, hopefully sooner than later.
We would
Yeah.
love